Many Magic the Gathering players ask the question, should I buy the Fate Reforged Clash Pack Power and Profit? How does this Clash Pack compare to the previous Clash Pack? Or when contrasted with an event deck when it comes to constructed playability? Is this a good purchase for someone new to the game? What about for casual players or people who want to be able to play some games with a friend just for fun? Finally, from a strictly financial perspective, does this Clash Pack contain cards worth the price of the box? And are these cards that will have a home in your collection? In other words, how much power and how much profit can Magic players get from buying Power and Profit? Let's take a look. Power and Profit contains the following. So, in my review of the first Clash Pack, Fate and Fury, I was largely underwhelmed and did not consider it a good buy. As usual, I focused largely on its applicability to those wanting to play Magic at the Friday night level, and I did not consider it to be a worthwhile deck to bring to something like F&M or Game Day. Nor did I feel it had very good upgradable options, and I still stand by that. I did err in one area, which was my prediction that Courser of Kruphix's high price was a temporary blip. The only thing impressive about the new MTG Clash Pack is its inclusion of the highly in-demand Courser of Kruphix, a card almost certain to drop in price at least momentarily. Well, I sure was wrong about that. Courser became a mainstay of many winning decks, and the price shot up so high that at one point, if you were considering buying a single Courser, you more or less could have just bought the Fate and Fury Clash Pack. That's a pretty good deal. And although Courser has dropped a lot in price since then, it's still a standard staple, and as of the filming of this video, worth about $10. But Courser, along with Hero's Downfall, will be rotating out of Standard later this year. Typically, cards plummet in value unless they see play in other formats, such as Modern or Legacy. Courser has seen some Modern play, mostly as a 2-of in some, but not all, Scapeshift decks. If this solidifies as a must-run for the deck, or finds a home in other Modern decks, it can certainly retain some value after rotation. And quite frankly, what it does is powerful enough that I think it's likely this may even go up in value in years to come. So the fact that it is included here again in this Clash Pack, while a little puzzling, is definitely not a negative point. The fact it is both foil and alternate art helps as well, although the artwork is a bit similar to the original. What else are we getting here? Alternate arts for Necropolis Fiend, Sultai Ascendancy, Hero's Downfall, Reaper of the Wilds, and Whip of Erebos. The Clash Pack also contains a few additional rares, so strictly financially speaking, if you were to want to buy all the singles from this Clash Pack, as of today, the total cost to you on TCG Player would be $55.49. That's not factoring in the alternate art foils, which may be worth more than their non-foil counterparts, especially with time. Some very good financial value here. In terms of individual cards, in addition to Courser, the Hero's Downfall is probably the other most important inclusion. Downfall is a standard staple and does indeed see play in all other formats, due to the fact it can take out creature and planeswalker alike. So few cards at this point even interact with planeswalkers, let alone have the ability to destroy a planeswalker or a creature in terms of removal. So Downfall will be around and likely at a high cost until something better is inevitably made. And as long as we're talking about alternate art, Let's look at this alternate art on Hero's Downfall. I like it a lot, and I don't mean to take anything away from this particular artist or this particular piece. It's nice, it's great in fact. But considering the heavy Theros theme for this Clash pack, and considering the card Hero's Downfall is rooted in Theros and even has the name Hero's Downfall, then don't you think this artwork, commissioned by Wizards of the Coast yet not actually used on any card, might have been a total flavor win? Here we see the actual hero of the Theros block, Elspeth, being downed by the very god she trusted. This art by itself is amazing. It tells everything that you need to know about the ending to Theros block right here. Heliod, no longer looking virtuous or noble, but wrathful and petty, stabbing Elspeth with her own sword. A Johnny running to help, yet the distance between them is too great. You can almost see him in motion, and yet feel the inevitability of Elspeth's demise at the same time. It's fantastic art. To have put this on the Hero's Downfall card would have been spectacular. I just had to say that. Whip of Erebos is currently seeing a lot of standard play in both Sidisi and Abzan Whip decks. Herald is also seeing a fair amount of play as well. In Tier 1 decks, as well as those outlier Constellation decks that those stubborn yet admirable souls are trying to make viable. Go get 'em, gang! Speaking of stubbornly wanting a deck to work, the inclusion of Scuttling Doom Engine is a curious one. The Ensoul Artifact Robot standard build to work. And although it never quite did, it put up a heck of a fight and is still a notable oddball outlier as well. I like it, but no, it's not winning. And thus Doom Engine has dropped to only $1. So there's not much need for a reprint here. All in all, though, it's a nice selection, but much of it will be irrelevant later this year when Standard rotates. Which brings me to one thing that is really strange about this Clash pack, and that's how Theros heavy it is, especially in terms of its rares and alternate arts. Considering this is the Fate Reforged Clash pack, and Fate Reforged both just launched and is written on the box. The title of this isn't even on here, but Fate Reforged is. And this is almost entirely non-Fate Reforged cards. In fact, almost nothing from the cons block is in here. As a primarily Theros selection of cards, most of which are only of use in Standard, this therefore has a very limited shelf life indeed. And that is likely Wizards' plan. After all, two hotly needed Planeswalkers are going to be featured not in last fall's duel deck, which featured the pitiful selection of Zurgo Helm Smasher and Arcanus the Infinite, but rather in next spring's duel deck, Elspeth versus Kiora. These cards are deeply needed, and they aren't really seeing any play outside of Standard, but have a really high cost, and therefore having them in a dual deck is ideal. But too bad that it's in the dual deck that will be printed a matter of weeks before they rotate. I wish that this had included some of the high demand and expensive or otherwise just staple cards for cons block, if not an emphasis on Fate Reforged. What about for casual play? The two decks are a fair amount of fun to play against each other, but they are pre-constructed, which means the entire deck building aspect of this game is bypassed. While it is a little more expensive for two players, I'd always endorse the buying of 6 packs each to build a sealed deck, or perhaps 2 pre-release kits, which in some rare instances can be found at a good price after pre-release. But yes, this is absolutely an enjoyable matchup, if not a somewhat repetitive one. What about competitive play? I am going to continue my claim that the fully assembled event deck-like version of this Clash pack would neither fare well at an FNM or game day-like in-store event, nor does it have the template of a viable deck that a new player could try and upgrade into. This is largely a collection of some nice parts, mainly the Courser and the Hero's Downfall, to be used in decks you are building anyways. If you are looking for a $25 deck to start from scratch in standard with, and with the intent of taking it to a Friday Night Magic or game day, you can check out my budget competitive deck techs for Fate Reforged here and here. Final conclusion, financially, this is a pretty good buy at $25. And if you can ever snag it for less, even just a little less, it becomes much more so of a value. Grade for financial value? B+. As far as for collectors and deck builders, the contents would be a solid B. The biggest con is the heavy emphasis on both standard and the Theros block in terms of the individual cards. Gonna be rotating soon, too soon. For casual players, sure, this is a fun way to get a game against a friend, or just have an enjoyable deck for kitchen table magic. I still prefer building my own, even for casual play, but at $25, this is still a B. For store-level competitive play, however, I'm going to have to give this a C-. This simply does not do a good job of meeting the criteria of playable at FNM out of the box. Nor does it provide the groundwork for an effective upgrade strategy. To me, personally, and this is what Wizards of the Coast claims these sealed products were designed to do, and yet they so rarely do it. The Underworld Herald event deck seems to have been the exception and not the rule. I hope this video has been of some help to you. You can help me out by remembering to subscribe, like, share, or just by leaving a comment. And remember, you cannot play Magic at Target or Walmart. So if you are going to pick up this Clash pack, or a dual deck, or an event deck, or just some booster packs, try and spend that money where you spend time playing Magic. And that's at your local game store. You're supporting your Magic community.